Hey there, my friends. This is Dave Sharpe. Welcome to Wake Up Legendary. It's going to be another exciting morning. I've got a tried and true veteran in the game on the call this morning. I'm excited to talk about the history. It's important to understand the history of where you come from, particularly in this industry, right? If you're brand new and you're wondering, what might my career look like over the next 5 or 10 years? And what are some of the challenges I'm going to run into? And what are some of the things that I can experience as a lifestyle shift and change? Like, how can my life get better? And what are some of the things that I'm going to encounter? My guest today is going to enlighten us on that. Now, before we bring him in, we do this show every weekday from 10 a.m. to about 10:15, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time in the morning. So set your alarm, particularly if you're somebody who's looking for some inspiration, you're looking for some value, and you want to follow along a talk track of basically, a mini lesson each morning about how to be successful as an online marketer and how to be successful as an entrepreneur in 2020, then this is an absolutely fantastic and free way to do that. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our guest for today, Rory Singh. What's up, my brother?
Hey, Dave. Can you hear me?
I can, loud and clear, man.
Okay, right on.
Awesome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the call. And it's great to meet you officially in person, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to finally talk to the big man himself here.
Hey, I wish I got that sort of limelight in my own house, I mean, it's like my wife, she just tells me, take out the garbage, and my kid just wants me to play Barbies with her every day. So, yeah, man, we were chatting briefly. I'm excited to get into your story and learn a little bit more about your experience and kind of what you can share with people. So take us back, my man. Take us back to the beginning.
Ooh.
Take us way back. Take us back, brother, and tell us how you got into this game, into this career. Would you define this as a career for you?
Oh yeah, definitely. It is a career. That's the way you gotta approach it. That's the way you gotta treat it, for sure.
Okay. All right. So cool. So we can actually, a lot of times people don't take it that seriously. A career is usually something that you do in a cubicle, right?
Yep.
It's like, hey man, a career, I've got a career as a bookkeeper at this company. I've got a career as a lawyer. I've got a career as a doctor, but oh wait, hold on a second. Online marketing, that's just a hobby. Right? That's just a side gig. That's just something that I get criticized by friends and family because I'm doing something different. But it's hopefully we can, and I like to invite people to have a full-fledged mindset shift about how they view their business, because if you don't look at it as a career, it's never going to be a career. So take us back, man. How did you get into this in the first place? What was going on in your life, and what did you do those first couple of months? Take us back.
Okay, I'm just waving my head around. I notice there's a little bit of a time lag, but maybe it's just on my end here.
We're good on the stream though.
Okay, yeah. Back, I came online back in 2006. I got one hell of a story. Before 2006, I was probably one of those people who called everything a scam. If you came and approached me about a home-based business, about affiliate marketing, about making money outside of a job or a traditional brick and mortar business, I would have said, stay the hell away from me. The only way to make money is at a job or, creating your own brick and mortar entrepreneurial type of business. But I had before 2006, it's kind of crazy. I was talking about this on YouTube. I noticed that the important stuff that people should be paying attention to, they're not paying attention to. They're more into lifestyle marketing, balcony, resort, fancy cars and stuff like that. But I was talking about the shift. How did you even find yourself here, right, Dave? We all. I had, I guess, something happened in my life where um, it changed, gave me like a paradigm shift, a different way. I had to open my mind to this idea, and it started. It's kind of a. It's weird. It's going back to 2004. I had my brother's stepson. It was horrible. He got caught up with the wrong crowd and he disappeared. And we discovered it's kind of a gruesome story, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But we discovered the police discovered him in a landfill. In a landfill site in a place called Orangeville, Ontario, back in 2004. He went missing around December 2003. So maybe that kind of like woke me up to it shook me up. It did something inside where I started asking different kind of questions compared to the usual conversation. Back then I came from the trucking industry. I've been a truck driver since 1994, and I was just mostly concerned about, I was getting paid hourly, mostly concerned about my job. So I had that huge shakeup. He wasn't my nephew, but I considered him my nephew. So it's like a step nephew. And because of what happened, it just got me thinking in a different direction for some reason. So one day, I believe it was in 2005, I was over at my mom's place on Thanksgiving, and she kind of noticed that she's like a traditional entrepreneur. She started her own brick and mortar businesses. She failed the first time, and then she started a clothing business. She called herself like a tailor, fixing people's clothing, and it just skyrocketed. She just became very successful, bought her first home, and but she was always like poking around in MLM, and she just kind of noticed that I was open to something different. So she handed me a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and that was like I took it. Normally I'd be like, no, I'm not going to read that. I was the type of guy who probably didn't read maybe more than 2 books during school, in high school. And it was because I had to. They forced me to read it, or else, we wouldn't pass through and get the credits and graduate. So that was the shakeup that started it. And I think everyone has this, because a lot of people, I finally came online in 2006, and I went through, what do you call it, the absorption mode, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I'm seeing some people claiming they can make money online, and then some people posting some huge income claims back then in 2006. And it took me just poking around, I guess, about a full year before I made my first $1,000 in commission online. And that's pretty well how it started. Do you want me to keep going, talking about that?
Well, I just had to unmute myself. So mom was the one who introduced you to entrepreneurship, essentially.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. Is mom still with us here, or has she passed away?
Oh, she's still with us. Yeah.
Awesome. So what does she think of the transformation in your life since that introduction back? What was that, 2004, 2014? So that was 16 years ago. Is she, that's what is you guys' relationship like now, or what does she think about you following that path? I'm just curious.
I've been through like a huge learning curve, not just marketing, in life, and I think she looks back at everything that she knows, everything I've been through. I've been through some stuff, like crazy stories, really crazy stuff. I was hoping you saw the story. Maybe you could look that up later. but I had some like I have one hell of a story. But I think she's impressed with the learning, and it was more
Yeah.
not just marketing. I think life lessons, right? In 2006, I don't know. My wife says she tells me she's like, there's no mistakes. We learn from something or we don't learn from something. So when I came online in 2006, I saw this Midas muffler salesman, right, and claiming that he left his job. So what I did, some people may call it a mistake, but now because of so much of the experience I've gained in life, I think it was so much learning for me. But it wasn't overnight success for sure. So in 2006, I left my job without having a solid income coming in, and I was living off credit cards, on lines of credit, and started going on vacations, right? Going on vacations, and even take we weren't. I wasn't into video back then. I was just taking pictures of me on vacation, and still took me like a full year before I started seeing a decent return. But by that time, because I dug myself into a hole of credit, right? Um, Basically, I went like bankrupt and stopped marketing. I looking back now, I think I could have just kept going, even though I ran my credit into the dirt. By the time I started making enough money online, I was too much. I was too much into the hole. Even the house I was living in back then, it went into foreclosure. I just told the bank, just take your house back. To make a long story short, we had to move the family, and we're all still together now. We're back into a house again, but I had to move my family into two-bedroom apartment instead of like a detached three-bedroom home, two-car garage, the kind of idea here. And my wife, oh my God, back then, when I came online, she was working with me. She was more into prospecting. She's an awesome on the phone at closing. She's like happy-go-lucky type of person. She just has a natural interest in talking to people. So people get on the phone with her, and they basically, I was like, how the hell did she do this? They just close themselves because she's not after the sale. She's just happy. She wants to connect, and she's chatty and very social. She's more social than I am. I'm surprised that I'm the guy that's actually doing the videos. But I think because, I put her into foreclosure and she still stayed with me right through all that. She kind of has a bad taste for the industry right now. I think she'll come around, right? But we went into the apartment and all kinds of stuff. I think more learning lessons. I made a video last night on YouTube. What was it about? It was about blocks. A lot of people don't know that they have so many different things that they're doing. I was watching a call, one of your wake-up calls. I can't remember the gentleman's name. I think he was Russian, Vasily, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. The programmer from California,
Okay.
Vasily. Yeah.
You were saying something about there's a strong connection with a good employee and a good entrepreneur, right?
Right.
So I was expanding. I was trying to create some content last night, and I was creating it around that idea. And then I got into attitude, right? Attitude or even anger. I myself grew up in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. That's the capital city of Canada. And when we came here, I came from a country called Guyana in South America.
Yeah.
And I went to Ottawa. I was 3 years old, and it was like mostly a white population. And there was some racist people there, right? So I grew up every day. I was like getting into fights because people are picking on me because of my skin color. So I kind of had to like fight my way through school. But the thing is, I think I had an anger issue, and I had to work. Anger will block you for sure. And in my video yesterday, I was mentioning a lot of people, they don't realize that a lot of people are looking for their FU money online. I see that all the time on Facebook, the comments, they're hating on jobs, get out of your job. And I was saying, like, if you have a job right now, have gratitude for your job because it's paying your bills. It's a gift. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you should first look at where you are in life. Have gratitude for where you are, even if you think you're in a shitty place right now, right? If you
Right.
don't have gratitude, I don't think you can change your situation in life. So while I was in that apartment, I went through a lot of learning. We went through. Um, you were part of another company before, right? A
Mm-hmm.
big company. I was in. I went down to Chicago for that
Nice.
event, and I was trying to talk to all the leaders there, but there were so many of them, right? I saw Rob before in the washroom. Where he was, and he looked at me, and he had that expression. He had that smirk on his face, but he was at the urinal. I'm like, what the hell? I'm going to talk about Rob. Hey, it's Rory Singh. Nice to meet you while you're at the urinal. But all the other leaders, Vic Strashaus was there. He looked like he was getting ambushed and nervous in the hallway. Tracy Walker, Nicole Cooper, they were all there, and they all looked so nervous because people kept bombarding. I just said, I'll just leave them alone. I saw you on stage, and I'm like, there was so much crowd around you. I'm like, I'll just absorb, what I can while I'm here, instead of trying to talk to everyone. But in 2013, while I was living in that little apartment, um, we had a flood. So I went through. I came back from the event, and then by July, we had a creek behind the apartment building. It flooded over. We were out of an apartment for like a month, so we had to go and find. It was almost like homeless. We had to go move into my mom's place for like a week, and that didn't work out too well because I've got myself, I got my dog, my wife, and then I've got my two sons, and so we had to go rent another place, and that was like a little bit more of a distraction. Then in 2014, huge blow up. Okay, and it's another adverse situation. Really, really huge. Um, there was a drug dealer living beside me, and stupid me was so focused in. I wasn't even at the point of when I came online in 2006. I figured out how to do paid advertising. We were using Google pay-per-click back then. We were allowed to do affiliate marketing.
Right.
And then by 2008, by the time I started having success, everything changed. They kicked us off. I moved into the apartment, didn't have money for a marketing budget. Found your other company in 2011 from one of my previous coaches, and he signed me up. And still, I had things blocking me, like a lot of people may have these type of blocks. I had the anger issue. So I'm thinking, when you have a block, the universe is going to do its best. In my personal experience, it'll create circumstances to shake you up and maybe wake you up and
Mm-hmm.
get you to pay attention to what you need to pay attention. So in 2014, this is drug dealers living next door. My kids knew this. I didn't know. They said like he was selling drugs through the washroom window on the backside of the building. I still wasn't paying attention. I'm busy at work. And then I'm thinking about thinking about marketing, how I'm going to be a great marketer. And lo and behold, October 2014, he had some kind of occurrence. They called the police, and he was right next door to me. So I'm walking down the hallway, and I actually had an argument with my wife at the same time, so I wasn't in a good mood. I'm walking down the hallway, and they just stormed the place, and they grabbed me, and they're pushing me against the wall for no reason. I'm like, hey, I've got nothing to do with what's going on over there. I've got nothing to do with this. But I don't know if they looked at the color of my skin or what. But the next thing I told one of the officers, because he was grabbing me, pushed me, I said, hey, man, you don't have any reason to be. I'm just leaving my apartment. I'm not having anything to do with these guys. He starts grabbing me, and I said, hey, take your effing hands off me. Oh, my God. Big mistake. My dog somehow got out of the apartment. I turned around to look at my dog. Next thing you know, the guy's grabbing me from behind, right? It's I didn't even want to get into this because of what's going on in the US right now, but here we are. So next thing you know, yeah.
Right. It is what it is. Let's get into the juice.
Oh, we're gonna get into it. It's quite a story. So next thing you know, I'm getting beaten from behind. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm having a conversation with myself when this is, I said, am I fighting with the police? Wasn't fighting because they'll kill you. Three guys, the smallest guy was 244 pounds based on what he said, right? On my back, like a UFC fighter. I'm like, what the hell? I'm trying to crawl away, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. All I said was, I said, take your effing hands off me, right? And that just pissed one guy. And after remembering, he stood back and he went like this here, and he stepped backwards and he's like, stop. But when I explained, I had to go to court for this because they beat me up, and there was three of them, and I was just like trying to cover my head, and one guy's the same guy that instigated was punching me as hard as he had some huge, the 244-pound guy, he had some huge forearms. He was punching me in the back of the head where he couldn't leave any marks. But the thing is, that's where my spine and skull is connecting. So it was giving me like concussion, TBI. And then all of a sudden, another guy walks above me, and then I know he tasered my leg. I'm like, what the hell? I start screaming. I'm like, I'm getting tasered. I'm getting beaten up. I'm not even resisting. I'm not even under arrest here. They didn't even have. Shouldn't have even detained me for anything. Then my wife storms out and she's like, what the hell is going on? And I'm like, this is like back to what's happening. I'm like, I can't breathe. And I had a hood on. She pulled it off. And the guy's like, he can't breathe because I got my knees in his back. He tells her that. I couldn't believe he said that. But luckily she came out. She probably saved my life. So the next thing he did because when they're tasering you, and the guy who was tasering me had some kind, I believe there's a safety on it where I think he was somehow over tasering me because it was like 10, 15 seconds, right? It was just too long. And because I was screaming, people were opening up their apartment doors, so it scared the police. And then the next thing you know, the guy picks me up off the ground and he says, oh, he's under arrest. My wife's like, for what? And he's like, he's under arrest because assault an officer. And I'm like, I didn't care what he said at that point in time. I was just glad they stopped beating me. I was like, oh good, I can actually breathe now. And then the next thing you know, he handcuffs me. I'm like, holy shit, I'm getting handcuffed. I mean, I never broke one law here in Canada since I was a little kid. So next thing I know, I'm in a police cruiser, and I'm complaining about, oh, you guys handcuffs are way too tight because I'm losing circulation in my hands. So they take me out to the back of the car, and the guys, oh, we're going to loosen it for you. Next thing you know, they're burning my wrist. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? I don't know if he's screwing around with the taser or something. He touched my wrist and it started burning. Then the next thing I know, because I'm like out of it, paramedic shows up, and he doesn't even check me because I ended up with at least one cracked rib. They were kicking me in my side. Paramedic didn't do nothing. He comes and he pulls something. Police must have just said, hey, this guy's a badass, or he's giving us a hard time. They didn't even look at me. They didn't check me. Nothing. They just pulled a little taser clip off my pants, and away they went. So next thing you know, to the police station, and then I'm getting fingerprinted, and I'm like, what the hell is happening here? I'm even asking the lady, you're fingerprinting me? I can't believe. I says, well, okay, once this goes out and you guys figure out I'm innocent, she's like, you got to come back in. And she's judging me. Like, I could tell she's looking at me like I did something wrong. I'm like, you weren't even there. I'm thinking. But I had to go through all that. Next thing you know, I have to go to court. And I didn't have lots of money. I had to go to legal aid, apply for a lawyer. But luckily for me, the superintendent of one of the buildings I was living in, she was in the one across from where I lived. She's a lady from Serbia. She said, hey, I grew up with a lawyer, and I'll hook you up. Okay. And but the thing is, he's a really good lawyer, but he's almost blind, right? He's an almost blind lawyer. So the next thing
I want to just put a pin in this real quick, because I just want to keep track of time here and make sure that we've got a takeaway from this incredible story that you're telling. So we've got limited time here. So help us to understand the point or how this ties in. And I understand that there's clearly this is a wild story, and it's
Mhm.
very in line with what's going on with the world right now. But bring us back into how this connects into your journey with entrepreneurship and marketing, and
Okay.
because we were in 2014, I think this was going on in 2014. Bring us back into how this connects to your journey in your business.
Okay. Well, to make a long story short, with that court case, judge
Right.
threw it out. He figured out
Good.
the lawyer was a hot shot, and he turned things around, and they just threw it
Right.
out because they figured out the cops were lying.
Sure.
But what it did for
I'm so glad for you for that.
Yeah, he told me, he said, like, you could actually, I said, do innocent people go to jail or get charged? He's like, all the time. I was like, wow.
Sure.
Okay, so what it did
And
for
I'm sorry
me,
you had to go through that, brother. I mean, that sounds traumatic.
well, it was a learning curve for sure. I had something I had to let go. This is what ties into maybe the success that I'm experiencing.
Mhm.
Maybe the way I figure, it was another learning curve. I went through a flood. First, I went through a foreclosure. I did it to myself, but still, I had to go through a dry spell, right? Bad credit. Then I went in through the flood. That did something to me as well. I had to make peace with every problem that I went through. Now with the police, I hated them. At that, I wasn't. I'm not the type of person. I like police, right? I grew up watching Chips, Starsky and Hutch, a lot of police shows. Even up to now, I still watch Chicago PD, one of my favorite shows. I got no problem with the police. There's some really awesome police officers, and of course, there's some bad apples out there. Okay, so they're not all bad. But what it did for me was I came to the point. Even my doctor, he was saying, you can't go back in your truck. Don't do it. My lawyer's saying, listen to your doctor if you get in trouble. But I had to I think it was to help me break out of more anger, right?
Mm.
Because it created a situation where I had hatred towards the police because of what happened. But then I had the learning for me, or else I would have still been a bitter person, and I wouldn't have been getting anywhere in life if I hung on to that hatred towards the police. So I think the police showed up in my life to help me break out, to release more anger. And it did something, because by the time 2016 rolled around, I never had the courage to do video marketing. I probably made like one video in so many years, but I came back online, and I came back strong, and I started making video. James Jordan was, I saw you did,
James?
I know James from Facebook.
Awesome. Nice.
We were having a conversation, I think in 2016 on Facebook, and he asked me, hey, Rory, what are you doing? I see you're posting some results. What are you doing for traffic? And I said, well, I'm doing blog SEO. I'm thinking of doing YouTube. And then he says to me, well, why aren't you? I said, well, because in the past, people were able to flag your accounts so easily. So I was probably still preoccupied. Maybe I don't want to put a whole bunch of content on YouTube. Then James, he says to me, he's like, you're focused on stupid stuff, man. Then I'm like, my ego kicks in. I'm like, what did he say to me? But then I'm like, what he says is making sense. It's true. So I'm like, okay, I'll just, the hell with it. I am focused on something stupid here. So I started hammering videos. And by the time 2017 came around, I started getting really consistent. By August 2017, I had to go through all these learning curves to release the blocks that were blocking me mentally.
Yeah.
And then I finally started hitting YouTube hard. Consistent.
I see how that all ties together now, and it makes a lot of sense. I think I think you make a great point, which is a point that I've been talking about for many years, which is this idea. I actually said this at an event last year, and it simplified what I believe is something that I've tried to explain for a long time, but I didn't really have the words to say it, which is self-worth and self-esteem is the bedrock of success. And when I'm feeling inadequate, less than, in fear, angry, which anger really is a secondary emotion of fear. Would you agree?
Yeah, it is, for sure.
Yeah. So when I'm feeling fear at the core, afraid of something, afraid of rejection, afraid of inadequacy, afraid of criticism, afraid of failure, even afraid of success, my self-esteem is under attack. I'm not feeling my best self, and it's hard for me to move forward with conviction and confidence, whether it's recording videos, whether it's, it could just be small things, posting something on Facebook, having a conversation with somebody. So I love how you've turned your, as I like to say, your struggles into your strengths. Talk to us about, now that you've broken through some of those barriers, anger, fear, so forth, and you've matured in your life and business. What are you focused on right now? What opportunities? And I'm also, in this same question I'm asking you, you've been through 16 years of ups and downs in this industry, and I appreciate you sharing those failures, along with now you're experiencing quite a bit of success. You're an affiliate of ours. You're doing affiliate marketing. You're moving forward in your life and business. So what are you doing now that's working? And also, if you were to start all over, brand new, fresh right now, but you somehow had the experience of 16 years of everything that what would you do differently? What would you do starting today that you didn't do when you started?
Okay. Well, I'll go to what's working for me right now. So doing YouTube. I have a video called "How Come Only Stupid People Make Money Online." So just quickly with YouTube, some people, they'll read that title and they won't even watch the video, and then they're giving me negative comments. But it just means to use what you have right now and have enough courage, and don't wait for the perfect day. A lot of people are waiting for the perfect day, waiting for the laptop, waiting for a Mac. My wife, this is not the phone that I was using, but I had a smartphone. She gave me an old Windows phone it was like a reject phone for her, and she's like, "Here, you need a phone, just use it." I started going into the forest and just started recording. That's why I said having online success without Bling lifestyle. I read a comment on an MCA. There's a company called MCA, and there was a young lady who, she said she failed in it, but she was talking about having to have a Bling lifestyle. And I'm like, you don't really have to do that. You can just start from where you are. So with YouTube, that's what I did. I started making videos in the forest, and because of my past experiences were blocking me, things were blocking me, like anger. I worked through that, graduated to the next phase of my life. That's what an adverse situation is there. It's there to help you. And then I started doing the marketing, and I just used what I had, an old crappy phone, and instead of waiting for the perfect day. A lot of people, I think, are trying to get their ducks in line, don't want to make mistakes, but it's in our mistakes that's where our strength is. That's our learning. That's most of our power is. We got to make those mistakes to know what we shouldn't do will teach us what we should be doing. Okay, so I think I strongly believe everyone who gets into this industry can become successful. They have the ability. It's up to them to do with it what they will. But most people, I find, you just get stuck, and a lot of people don't have certainty, right? I think you were mentioning something at the beginning of this conversation about a lot of people don't take the industry serious enough, calling it a career, but it's a career for sure. And it's just there's like some kind of connection they lose. They come online, and because it's virtual, people just don't take it that serious. And then there are some people who want to take it serious, but I could still sense there's a lot of people not doing the taking the right type of action every single day, generating traffic, branding, giving value to the marketplace, or even if you don't want to do that stuff and you want to learn paid advertising, getting consistent is what I'm trying to say here. But I'm thinking a lot of people don't have this certainty. I've got a friend on Facebook. Her name is Lindsay, and we had so many conversations about this. I said a lot of people don't have certainty, maybe because maybe they don't even believe what they're. I'm thinking a lot of people don't believe because they're so used to making money at a job. Then when you come online, just because it's virtual, they're just not giving the same type of energy to their online business as they would being a good employee. So some people are not taking it as serious as they should be taking it. And then there are other people who are ready to go and don't have anger issues and stuff like that. But maybe they lack belief in themselves. And I still think it comes down to laziness. That's just my perspective. Comes down if you have a self-limiting belief is something we put in. If I have a self-limiting belief about money, maybe it's something I saw when I was growing up. I put it in my head, and I'm just I keep living through this type of mindset for the rest of my life. But I went
and I want to just I just want to make a comment on that real quick, because is it laziness, or is it that people are that they have so many habits and hang-ups in limiting beliefs that are exhausting, that when they go, it's just sort of like racism. I mean, you brought this up, and in the current situation our country and world's in right now, it's just a timely topic. Is anybody born racist? I don't believe so. I believe so. That exactly. It's absolutely something that's nurtured in people, and oftentimes it's passed down just from generation to generation. And I think the big thing that a lot of people are realizing right now, who are willing to have the difficult conversation, is that there's actually what a word that would be less offensive to people is just bias, right? Bias. It's not because racism feels icky. It's like people are unwilling to really look at that word in terms of themselves, because it's like, well, I'm not racist. They want to be as far away from that word as possible. But bias is something to where you just have a bias towards things, and oftentimes it's unconscious. So if somebody's walking through a parking lot as a young kid, and there's a group of African Americans, or any, as you stated, you have dark skin. So if you're standing around in a parking lot and a white mom is walking with her daughter and grabs the daughter close to her body because there's a set of dark skinned individuals hanging out in the parking lot, there's a seed that's planted in that young child's brain that those people, because of their skin color, are a threat. And so that's how bias is created. It's not particularly racism. It's a form of racism, right? But that's a less offensive term. And so the reason why I bring that up is first and foremost because, I've invited this week a lot of my white friends and family to take a look at how this has showed up in their lives. And as I've done the same thing myself, because I want to make this world a better place, and I want to eliminate racism and bias personally. However, in terms of the laziness, which is a comment that you just made about people, it all comes down to laziness. I would challenge that, and here's why. Is because a lot of people grow up with trauma. A lot of people grow up with difficult situations, low self-esteem, and it's not their fault. It's because they grew up in a household potentially hearing messages like "you ain't shit" or "you ain't ever going to be anything," or things like just messaging. You know what I'm talking about. We all know what I'm talking about. Disempowering messaging inside of our house, to where when we grow up to go transition from employee to entrepreneur, and now we're trying to start a business, but we have all of these stories and messaging in our head that's disempowering. So we're fighting ourselves. A lot of entrepreneurs come online and they start to try to build a business, and they're the ones who's the biggest obstacle. You know this. I know this. I'm my biggest obstacle. So every time that I go to try to record that video, I'm fighting that messaging in my head. And Rory, that can be exhausting. That's exhausting. And I don't think people are I don't think they're gentle enough with themselves. We've got to be gentle with ourselves. And this is why within Legendary I talk about self-care so much with our team, because it's really about being gentle with ourselves, to realize entrepreneurship exposes all of our weaknesses. unlike anything that we've ever done before. In
Mhm.
being an employee or working for somebody else, it typically can be a bit easier because it's not exposing all my weaknesses, right? I got a job to do. As long as I do it, I'm pretty much good. But entrepreneurship, I've got to, and I'm not saying that having a job doesn't, I really don't want to give having jobs a bad rap, because people are challenged in jobs. People are challenged in all sorts of different careers. But I think entrepreneurship peels back another layer of the onion that exposes people to their weaknesses, and that can be exhausting. And I think many people quit because they battle with perfectionism, they battle with their own self-esteem, and then they lose. And I'll just wrap this thought up. My daughter, she's 4 now, and what we do with her is we tell her, we've taught her that there's 2 voices inside of her head. You know, say for example, she's getting ready to jump from the deck into the pool. We say, oh boy, there's that voice there that's saying, this is scary, this is dangerous, I shouldn't do this, I can't do this. And then we tell her, and there's that other voice that's telling you that you can do this,
Mhm.
that you can crush this, that you can do this in an amazing way. And now we've taught her to be okay with both of those voices, because those are natural. Those are natural to have. At least, even if you've had no trauma in your life, at least 2 voices, one that's scared and one that feels courageous, right? And so she recognizes that. My hope is, as she grows up, she embraces that negative or that scared or that fearful voice in her head, but she chooses to listen to the voice that tells her to be brave and courageous. So I just felt like I wanted to say something about that lazy piece, because I think that also for you in your videos, Rory, I think one way that you could potentially take things to the next level this has been helpful for me. I think it's one of the reasons why I've had so much success, is because I've been extremely compassionate and empathetic towards people because of my own stories and struggles. And oftentimes, if we label somebody as lazy, then they might get defensive, and we might lose our connection with them. We might lose our ability or opportunity to be able to influence them in a positive way, to take action. Versus if we help them to try to understand what's underneath that laziness, which oftentimes is an exhaustion because they're battling with the story inside of their head. Does that make sense to you? That's just my opinion, by the way.
No, that's some great points there that you made. So another way to look at it is past programming. They have because of, and what's great about you and your wife is you guys are aware of how you can damage a child by what you tell them. It's really not a lot of people don't know that, right?
Yeah.
We had to learn the hard way, but that's awesome that you do that with your daughter. But but okay, so I said lazy, so maybe they're not lazy, maybe, but I think they should. Okay, maybe it'll come back to their why then, because if you have an issue and you really want, people are saying we want money, we want freedom. What is it? You want to live, even with yourself. You want to spend time with that little girl. To the point where maybe if you couldn't live the way that you're living now, maybe it would bring tears to your eyes. So maybe people could look at their why they truly here, and make sure it's really strong. I'm sure everyone has a strong desire for something, and I'm thinking that's what they should look at.
Well, let's look at yours. I mean, what, through all the challenges that you've been through, and clearly you've been through tons. You've been through tons of setbacks in life, and you've been through tons of setbacks even in this business. What keeps you? Well, I mean, why? What are you to me? Because I want to answer this question in a second too, but what keeps you going? Why have you continued to persevere even through challenges within your marriage, which you've been so courageous to be vulnerable and honest about? What has kept you going? What is your true? If you were to dig deep, what's your why?
My why, my back was against the wall, because after 2014, I started health issues. I was working 70 hours a week at a job, and I knew if I kept going down that road, I'm not going to live very long because I don't have time to work out. And my brain, because of what I went through, I think was deteriorating. I had to do something. So I guess my why was I had to, or else I'm going to be dead. I'm going to die in the truck if I keep this kind of lifestyle up. And I guess that's what did it for me. Another thing I want to say, it's kind of crazy. If every time I swayed away from marketing, crazy things started stirring up. It's weird. It's just my personal story. Life would go crazy. And then when I started learning what I have to learn in life, as well as doing my marketing on the side and trying to, do the job, the life, keeping the marketing into the loop, things would calm down for me. But I had my back against the wall. It's basically the answer.
You know what? So I want to answer that question, and then but I want to say this. I wonder if quote unquote marketing has been your anchor because it's been a place of solace for you. It's been a place of personal growth for you, right? Because you've had to break through. I mean, when we have a breakthrough, like you had when you started filming videos and you broke through that sort of that fear and you started to recognize that you were healing some of that anger. This marketing became bigger than just marketing for you, I think. And I think we are always pulled back to places that challenge us. We are, because we want to heal. We want to grow as human beings. And I actually think that one of the reasons why we attract the partners that we attract and we attract the situations that we attract in life, and you can say that God puts them into your life. You can say that, things happen because the universe has energy, whatever your belief is. But I believe that, I met my wife to heal certain things that happened in my childhood, that I went through addiction because I needed to develop a certain amount of empathy because I was going to be in leadership positions and I needed to be able to understand the true depths of pain and desperation and struggle. And it's I've been through many forms of recovery on many different addictions over the past 10 years because addictions manifest in different ways. I've been a work addict. I've been a sex addict. I've been a drug addict. I've been all kinds of things, and this is being a 100% real. And each one of these situations has brought me in. It's helped me to become a more vulnerable person, a more honest person, a more compassionate person, have more empathy, and in turn be able to relate to my fellow man and build my own self-worth because I'm not recreating that trauma over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's like somebody who was sexually abused or raped when they were young, and then they get older and they fantasize and want to live those things out over and over again, right? Until they meet somebody that challenges them and helps them to heal through that. A lot of times we re-traumatize ourselves over and over again. So I just think that for you and so many people, myself included, this business has been more than just marketing for me. It's been a place that's challenged me to grow, and it's been a place that's helped me to confront my deepest fears. Because look at me right now in this moment. I'm sitting here talking about real shit with you at 10:30 in the morning. You and I have never talked, but this business has brought us together this morning to have a real conversation about real shit that's going on in our life. And to me, I would have never had this standing around the water cooler. I never had this standing around the water cooler at any telemarketing job I ever had, and I had a couple before I started. But I want to tell you my why. I want to share with you just briefly my why. My why is similar to what I've just explained. The reason why I do this, I think, and the reason why why I started this, and the reason why I continue to do it, is because when I started in this business and when I was attracted to entrepreneurship in the first place, I had low self-esteem and I didn't really believe in myself, and I wanted to prove to myself that that I could succeed at something, that I could have redemption. And you remember, for me, I was coming off of being addicted and homeless. So I wanted to prove to myself that all that didn't happen in vain, that I could go on and be successful with something, and then in turn even provide for my family and be a good father and be a good husband and, you know, be a good citizen and just be a good man. Because I didn't feel like a good man when I started. I felt like a failure. You know, I felt like I was a piece of shit, is how I felt back in 2008 after coming off of having a heroin addiction and being homeless. And so over the years, after I would not quit, I would persevere, similar to how you have. I would feel a little bit better about myself each time. Even if others criticize me, I would feel a little bit better about myself. I'd feel accomplished. And this is similar to what something that Tony Robbins says, is he says that the foundation of happiness is not actually money. It's progress. It's growth. You know, it's feeling like we're growing. I see a lot of people who are unhappy, who are rich. So money doesn't equal happiness.
No.
Personal growth. Anybody who I've ever met that is growing personally, that feels like they're progressing and evolving as a human being, regardless of their financial situation, has a sense of happiness and joy about themselves. And so for me, entrepreneurship and quote unquote online marketing has been a vehicle for me to experience personal growth. And that, I think, is why I've continued to do this. And I think I just hear in your story similarities there, because you've been so honest about your, you know, these crazy stories and these things that have happened to you and these challenges and failures that you've had. And so that's my why. And I think for a lot of people online, the reason why we talk about money and the reason why we use these kind of money conversations as sort of the carrot to get people in the door is because, you know, if you ask 1,000 people if they want change, they're all going to raise their hands. But if you ask them if they want to change, you know, at first they're going to say no, you know, because change is hard. But once you get a taste of it, it's addicting. You know, it's addicting when you start to see the world in a different, as I like to say, with a different set of glasses. What's coming up for you as I say this?
Change, even myself, I find you can even be scared of change, even if it's good, right? We're just, the way that we think, your conscious mind is so, wants to just grab on what's safe. This is how it is. It's working. You can even I was going through some tough times, and I didn't know how hard it was until I finally was, okay, I got to let go of this and be willing to step into the next phase of my life. And then when you look back, you're like, I can't believe I was living such a hard life. So a lot of people, myself anyways, I was even scared of change. It was just the idea of, even if it's better, it's just scary.
Yeah, that's a great point. Change is scary, you know, and I think that's why so many people revert back into the comfort of what their life is. I mean, you watch a show, or maybe you know somebody, or maybe even somebody's watching on here as a hoarder, would consider themselves a hoarder. It's like, you know, from the outside looking in, as we watch it on TV, we might say, how can that person live like that? Oh my God, do they not see it? It's like, this is a disaster. But to them, that's their comfort zone. I mean, that's what they know, right? For me, I was like that for many years too, living in addiction and dereliction. And, you know, I didn't know I didn't know what I didn't know, you know? So I think you make a great point there. But again, what entrepreneurship has done for me is given me a taste of progress and growth. And that's spilled over into areas. Now my wife and I are obsessed about growing and evolving in our marriage. We go to counseling every week. We've got a wonderful, and our marriage is not in crisis. It's not in crisis. I go to counseling every week. This is on top of any mentorship masterminds I'm a part of. I'm a part of several groups. I've got coaches, but I also on a personal level, go to counseling every week. My wife and I go to couples counseling every week. Why? Because I'm just obsessed with the idea that I can get to know myself better, that I can have a closer, more intimate relationship with my wife. I've realized that I realized through going through counseling that I lacked a lot of empathy. I had a lot of empathy for other people, but I didn't have empathy for my wife. You know what I mean? And I needed to evolve that. You know, sometimes we treat the people closest to us the worst. And so all these efforts, these actions for me in my life have been a result of wanting to evolve. And it's scary. Just like you said, you made a great point. Growth and change is scary, brother. It's scary.
It is.
But it's courageous. And as you're walking through it, each one of you guys who are listening or catching this on the replay, that courageous feeling that you get when you know you're doing something that most people are afraid or unwilling to do. And that's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to be the brave heart of your own life. You know what I mean? It is. And that's what the hero's journey to me is all about. And I think you're a hero for walking that journey. I think you'll be a hero to your sons. I think you'll be a hero to your family for continuing to walk this path and not giving up on your own personal growth and being honest and being vulnerable and showing them what's possible, that there's no limits regardless of your background, where you came from, your skin color, that you keep fighting, you keep pushing forward, you keep digging, you keep growing, you keep challenging yourself. And I'm inspired by that. And anyways, we got to wrap up, man. But do you want to leave us with any final thoughts based on anything that we've talked about, or any advice to those listening?
Just don't give up, guys. Figure out if you have any blocks like what I had. I still have blocks. I'm still working on it. And as Dave's saying here, success leaves clues. Dave Sharpe, founder of the company, he's helping all of us out because we can leverage Legendary. But look at him. Look at you. You look at your story here. You're at this level in life, and you're still working on yourself. So that's what I'd like to leave them on. It's all about growth. Oh. If we don't grow, we're going to be miserable. So you guys are here to grow, and you're here to release blocks, and the possibilities. I'm not talking about monetary. Just the possibility is here for you guys who don't quit on yourself, because you are going to be. You're your worst critic. The only person that can block you is you. So that's the only thing that's coming to mind here for me.
Great thought. Good conversation, brother. I'm thankful for you for sharing your story, your honesty, and to have you as a part of our family, my brother. So we'll have you back on the show and check on your progress here in a couple of months, and keep up the great fight. And thanks for being on, man.
All right. Thank you for having me.
All right, guys. So catch us tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Wake Up Legendary. Share this with somebody who needs to see it. Share this with somebody who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below and let us know what you're most afraid to work on, but what you're going to commit to continuing to push through. I'd love to read each comment. We'll read them personally. I'll read them personally. And this is a safe place for you guys to be able to break through your most difficult barriers to become the best version of yourselves. So with that being said, be legendary, and we'll see you later. Peace.